Alright, boys, another day, another content from AniNews. This time, we got Emilia's past explained and the hidden details of her trial. Let's see what AniNews got for us today, man. We got the little cliffhanger of Regulus. It was, do not look at chat, alright? We got a little cliffhanger, and we pretty much got Emilia's past, man. It seems like it's like a shorter cut content than normal, so let's see what we got today, man.
Emilia's past continues to be shrouded by quite a bit of mystery, parts of which were very discreetly scattered throughout this episode. While some of you may have noticed these subtle details, there's quite a few that wouldn't have made sense unless you read the novels, and a lot of them help to enrich the overall mystery that we're slowly unraveling.
Alright.
So let's do as we usually do and use this cut content to better understand Emilia's trial. Let's begin. Episode 42, Journey of Memories, covering chapters 1 and 2 from volume 14 of the light novel.
Let me know if volume's good.
Picking things up from the end of the last episode, we saw that Echidna was not impressed by Emilia's arrival. She had absolutely no expectations for Emilia to overcome this trial. So it was for that reason that she didn't even want to watch Emilia challenge it.
Yep,
but
we know
as
that.
we saw, Emilia wasn't going to let her resolve be swayed by these words. Instead, she continued deeper into this forest that had taken shape directly from the confines of her memories. Now, when Echidna had to stop to catch her footing, Emilia made the suggestion for her to go barefoot. She even went so far as to take off her own shoes just to show how helpful it could be. But the reason that Echidna was even struggling in the first
there
place
we go, that's why the
wasn't
break
because
time
of what she was wearing. It was simply because she herself had entered the dream a bit too deeply, enough that both her and Emilia were still capable of interacting with the environment.
Oh.
So, in order to fix this, Echidna basically modified the settings of the world.
She modified the settings of the world. Okay, so it's not even that inaccurate, bro. She literally just activated cheats. She activated no clip. What the fuck? Okay.
A power unique to her as the ruler of this domain.
Alright, man.
One that determined who could do what.
What the fuck?
After she went on to explain what this world was, Emilia still found herself confused by the prospect of it just being a replay of her memories. She was curious as to how far her level of interaction could actually go. So she asked if the forest would get messed up if she was to go on a rampage. It was a question Echidna found to be foolish yet somewhat fitting to Emilia. But even if that was how she felt, she did still give an answer by saying it was impossible. As they were now, both Emilia and Echidna were a half step removed from this plane of existence, making it so that neither of them could interact with the environment or people within it. If she was able to do either of those things though, then that was something that Echidna said would make the trial completely different.
Okay.
This was a response that made Emilia even more curious than she was before. She was now interested in knowing what Echidna meant by that. So, with another question right after the first, Echidna couldn't help but mock Emilia's ignorance. Her constant flow of questions only went to highlight her significant lack of independence.
Jesus.
It displayed her inability to think for herself, and that was the part of her that Echidna really hated. Even after being told to think about it for herself, Emilia immediately responded saying that she already did, then asked for the answer.
Interesting. So, like, Emilia, I guess, just has this like tendency to always just like just ask for the answer, like rely on other people. Like I guess, basically, unlike Subaru, she can't interact with the past. Interesting. Yeah, so I kind of like was a little iffy on that, but I kind of understood it. Yeah, so pretty much, it's like unlike Subaru. Like, cause Subaru obviously was able to interact with everything, like literally his family and like the environment, so I guess that's very different for Emilia, yeah.
It was a response that went to elevate Echidna's emotions to a level that very few have ever done before. She said that only Subaru and the other witches were ever capable of inspiring such deep feelings of emotion.
Oh,
but,
okay.
unlike with them, the single emotion Echidna felt towards Emilia was one of pure displeasure.
Jeez, yo, she
Now,
fucking hates
Echidna
Emilia.
didn't exactly mention Subaru and the other witches by name, but she did refer to them as her friends.
Yo, we friends! Yo, Subaru and Echidna friends? I mean, I kind of thought the witches, right? But like, yo, Subaru and Echidna, bro, they friends, man. Yo.
As soon as Emilia heard this word, she pretty much instinctively responded in a way that exposed her envy. a response that Echidna couldn't help but scoff at.
Interesting.
In any case, Emilia's failure to understand the purpose of this world led Echidna to give a much more extensive description of it. She went on to talk about how moments in life often lead to regrets, and how those regrets can sometimes take root deep in a person's heart. While she did understand that they were painful to bear, she also understood that these regrets could serve to be the foundation supporting very precious relationships. It's for that reason that each trial needs to be handled differently.
Yep.
The way a person's regrets are manifested in their heart will ultimately determine the level of interaction required to overcome it. So, for a case like Emilia's, talking things over to the people of her memories simply wasn't enough.
That makes sense. So like that's why Subaru had to interact and talk to the others in the trial, because that's the only way he was gonna get over it. But in this case, it's literally the opposite. It's not about like interacting with her past like directly.
She needed something more if she was going to find the answer to the trial.
Interesting.
That's why hers is inherently different from Subaru's. Anyway, with Emilia now having a better understanding of the trial, the two of them were able to make their way to the princess room. Because Echidna seemed to already know the purpose of this tree, it made Emilia ask how much she already knew about her. But that was a question to which Echidna didn't answer.
Interesting.
Instead, she just decided to feign ignorance, leaving Emilia wondering just how much Echidna was hiding from her. So, with no other choice but to continue on, Emilia stepped into the princess room to commence the first memory of her past. The opening scene with Fortuna had left out a detail regarding Emilia's memory of her. After talking about each other's eyes, Fortuna went on to say how she really had a lot to regret.
Oh.
She began to talk about how if she had known to be kinder to a lot of people, then she wouldn't have had to rely on her brother to the very end. It was a very vague statement given with a very lonely expression.
Who was the brother,
but
man?
What was more important than the contents of her statement was the peculiar manner in which she said it. You see, Fortuna had the tendency to emphasize the word really. It was a force of habit that Emilia herself—
I wasn't tweaking! Yo, I wasn't tweaking, bro. Okay, yeah, I think y'all mentioned it too. Yeah, Sugoku. Yeah, they say that shit a lot, bro. They spam the fuck out of it. Like, when they say it, I, like, notice it. And I'm like, yo, Sugoku, bro. Yeah.
You see, Fortuna had the tendency to emphasize the word really. It was a force of habit that Emilia herself adopted and continued to mimic. The only difference, though, was that Emilia didn't use it when she was sad. Instead, she chose to emphasize the word when she was happy and smiling.
So it's when she's really happy that she uses it? Alright. Interesting. Okay.
This was because she wanted to associate her mother's favorite phrase with feelings of joy.
Aww.
She wanted to separate it from the usual memories of sadness and loneliness. So this was her way of painting over the bad memories with good ones. That said, I'm sure you've pieced together that this is why we tend to see Emilia stress the word really. It was a subconscious force of habit that she picked up from her mother. Now, when small Emilia was left to herself, the reason she had never chosen to go outside before was because she knew that her mother would always come back so long as she waited. Not the biological one that was too busy to take care of her, though. No, she was waiting for her second mother figure that she loved just as much. You see, Emilia actually really enjoyed the prospect of having two mothers. To imagine being cared for by another person as loving as Fortuna was something that she really liked to think about. So having two mothers wasn't exactly a bad thing for her.
I guess, yeah.
In any case, this was the time that Emilia decided not to wait. Which brings us now to the scene with Juice and Fortuna. While it was pretty much the same, the way they translated some of Juice's lines did change the context for what it implied. The first was when he was talking about his responsibility, rather than saying it was an obsession that bordered on delusion. What he really meant was that it was a compulsion turned into obsession. His lingering regrets made him compelled to follow through with his duty to the point that it became his obsession.
He just talking about Satella, right? I mean, he just talking about believing in the witch, the whole witch cult stuff, right?
The second was when he talked about the 100 Years of Turmoil. This wasn't just a figure of speech in which he was saying Fortuna's words were enough to carry him through it. It was more like he was saying that they already did carry him through it. He was talking as if to imply that he'd already been through that century of anguish. So that's a bit more context towards Juice's relation to the settlement.
Yeah, that's
Aside
definitely a
from
little
that,
different.
there was also the mention of a specific role being tossed around, one that was unique to both Archie and Fortuna. When Archie had made his entrance into the conversation, he had introduced himself as the next Guardian.
Yeah, Guardian.
A position we find out he's going to eventually adopt from Fortuna. We don't exactly know what this role entails, but we do know that Fortuna did mention how Archie needed to become more dependable for it. Only after he did would she be able to entrust her precious treasure to him. Whether she was talking about Emilia or the forest itself, well, that's something that I'm sure we'll find out later.
Okay.
What's clear though is that the Guardian is a very important role within this community.
Alright.
Now, after the first memory was finished, there was a bit more to Emilia's conversation about it with Echidna, specifically relating to the so-called fairy. What had happened was, Echidna first commented on small Emilia's poor character. She wasn't the biggest fan of how this child was acting. Despite having such a loving mother to care for her, she still broke her promise, left the room, eavesdropped, and even lied.
That's true.
It was a string of actions that Echidna found to be very distasteful, and Emilia couldn't even disagree with it. What she did do, though, was actually give thanks to Echidna for complimenting her mother like that. Fortuna truly was a caring person. So Emilia was happy that somebody else was able to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, Fortuna's a W.
As she reminisced on all the fond memories of the person she loved the most, she also remembered the two most significant names that came after hers, Juice and Fairy. Echidna found it very ironic that Emilia chose to name this lesser spirit Fairy.
Yeah.
Reason being that fairy was typically a term used to refer to an evil spirit. Of course, small Emilia didn't know that yet.
Yeah, that's like the main thing that confused me. I was like, why the fuck is she why the fuck is she calling fairies? I thought fairies were like bad spirits, but yeah, she doesn't know that, obviously. She's a kid.
I mean, one of the storybooks in her room even said that fairies were good.
Storybook.
But the truth of the matter was that no spirit would ever be happy when being referred to as a fairy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So even if Emilia was given the impression that fairies were supposed to be these gentle and reliable creatures, it didn't change the fact that spirits hated being called that name. It's an interesting detail in the way things turned out that Echidna found to be most unexpected.
It's like,
in any
it's
case,
like insulting.
The bond between Emilia and this lesser spirit she fondly referred to as Fairy continued to grow.
Okay.
Every time she'd escape from the tree, she'd use Fairy's help to do all sorts of mischievous things. Whether it be taking people's snacks or sneaking into people's houses, Emilia was always just running around doing whatever she wanted.
Bro, this girl's a menace. Bro, as a kid, she's a fucking menace, bro. Zero control, man. Yo, what the fuck? She's just fucking okay.
The thing she liked to do
She's
the
just
most
going around
was
doing
listen in on Juice and Fortuna's conversations. She found that that was the best opportunity to find out stuff about her real parents.
Interesting.
It's not like they came up in conversation very often, but when they did, Emilia was always happy to hear about it. That said, there was a topic that came up 100% of the time, and that was the checkup on the seal of the forest.
Yeah,
the second time we see Fortuna respond to it, she actually brought up a bit more information about her role as the Guardian. Not only was she responsible for monitoring the seal, but this time she also mentioned something about a key. Whatever that key was, apparently it was part of her duties as the Guardian to watch over it, just like how she did with the seal, Emilia, and the forest. Now, when Emilia heard that Fortuna carried out her duties for the sake of those two, she assumed that she was talking about her parents.
Those two gotta be the parents. The key. Bro, what is the seal? They haven't explained that shit yet, right? What the fuck is the seal for? Like, what are they sealing away specifically?
This was what piqued her interest in the seal. Up until now, Emilia never really paid attention to the importance of it.
Okay.
But because this time her name was mentioned in the same sentence as it, it made her think that perhaps her parents could be found beyond it. Perhaps they were hidden away somewhere that the seal prevented her from going. So, if that seal was in fact somewhere in the forest, then Emilia wanted to know where she could find it. She wanted to see if it could bring her closer to her real parents. Which brings us now to Emilia's memory of the first time she met it. One thing to note about this area is that the white surrounding the door isn't snow. It's actually nothing more than a discoloration of the world itself.
Oh, it's not snow. Oh, shit. I thought that was snow. Discoloration of the world itself. There's just no color here. Damn, what?
You see, this was a sacred area exempt from the laws of the world.
Okay.
So that's why every bit of nature within it took on this pure white color.
Oh.
After small Emilia was done examining this area, we saw her come across Juice face to face for the first time ever. And it was as he was crying his tears of joy that he also said a brief line that gave us a bit more context as to why. He said that the reason for his tears was because Emilia and her people had saved him.
How your people have saved me. Okay. The seal is so mysterious, some sort of unknown box, a sort of Pandora's box. I also like how it's designed. Okay, so it's just like, just a mystery box. All right, okay, interesting. All right.
That was the sole reason for why he was so happy. To Emilia, this was very much a strange display of emotion, but something about it did seem to resonate with her.
So like when he says your people, I guess he just, yo, this Satella right here, man. Like what? Like...
It reminded her of how she felt whenever she wanted to cry. So, because this was the emotion she tied to Juice's reaction,
okay,
her response became the same as the one her mother always gave her. She felt that what Juice needed right now was the warming embrace of someone's arms.
What did they save him from? That's an amazing... Yeah, like... That's not very specific. Your people saved me. Yeah, it's like, you know when Satella tells Subaru, like, yo, you saved me. You are like something along those lines, like you helped me a very long time ago, and it just like there's no answer. It's like very vague. I don't know what specifically Juice was saved from, but very vague, right? Nothing very specific. Just very vague stuff like you saved me.
It became the same as the one her mother always gave her. She felt that what Juice needed right now was the warming embrace of someone's arms.
Yeah.
Perhaps that would grant him the same happiness it always brought for her. That was her reasoning behind why she went to comfort him. So, this was yet another example of Emilia mimicking the actions of her mother.
And Fortuna.
Now, after that was done,
Fortuna got a lot of or like Emilia got a lot of inspiration from Fortuna. She learned a lot from Fortuna, and Fortuna's like the main, just her main, like, I guess like the most important part of her memories, at least from what we've seen so far. Fortuna really has a big impact on her and how she acts.
Emilia went hand in hand with Juice to go see Fortuna. She decided that she could no longer hide her adventures anymore. It was finally time to tell Fortuna about what she'd been doing. So she did. This was the last scene Emilia saw before the beginning of her true trial.
Okay.
It was the memory of an angry Fortuna raging at the both of them. Eventually she did come to accept the situation though. She acknowledged that this was the way things were now and started to head back to the settlement with them. When the real Emilia came to accept this as the true memory of her past, she also understood why she wouldn't have been able to do so before. You see, Puck's pact that sealed away all her memories ensured that even if she did meet anyone from her past, she wouldn't be able to understand what it meant to her.
Ah, okay, so even if she met, like, for example, like Fortuna, or even acknowledged the existence of Fortuna, because of that seal, she wouldn't understand, like, the feelings. Okay.
Instead, it made it so that there would only ever be pain and sorrow.
Pain and sorrow.
Although this was meant to protect Emilia's heart, it also guaranteed Emilia's failure of the trial. That's why now she was able to make it farther than she ever had before. So, as the memory continued with Emilia's journey back to the settlement, the whole thing was quite literally taken word for word from the novel.
Okay.
The only difference that needs to be mentioned comes from the description of Greed himself. What the anime didn't show was that his very appearance was the embodiment of the color white. Everything from his skin color to the clothing he was wearing was absolutely colorless. It was as if his very existence couldn't be affected by color at all. Since there was no tan to his skin or hue to his clothes, you could almost compare it to the pure white that surrounded the seal. But that was a phenomenon that Fortuna didn't care for. All she cared about was the intruder that had stumbled into her forest.
Yo, Regulus.
Bringing us now to the end of the episode.
Okay.
So, that's pretty much everything we missed so far from Emilia's trial.
Alright.
I'm sure a lot more of the mystery will be unraveled over the next couple of episodes. But I think it was important to highlight the subtle behaviors Emilia adopted from Fortuna. Now, before I go, if you enjoyed watching this video, then be sure to leave a like.
Alright, that is it. Alright, yeah, just like a little more info, a little more details on what, like, the inspiration, right? Like, how much Fortuna really meant to Emilia. Like, for example, like the Sugoku, she actually uses that really when she's really happy, which makes so much sense because it's like, I swear I heard so many Sogokus and like it felt like it was like being spammed too, like every time, like, I guess so it's like every time that she's happy, that pretty much happens. Also more on Juice. All right, overall amazing cut content. Thank you so much, AniNews, once again. Yeah, that was a very short cut content. There wasn't really much. He didn't mention Regulus is supposed to be the most average looking person. Really? Really? That's true? Okay. I remember reading something that Regulus' design was meant to be average and forgettable. Yet the illustrator cooked so hard. Yeah, okay. Bro is okay. He's literally the opposite, bro. He looks sick as fuck, bro. Bro, it's not average and forgettable, man. The illustrator did cook, man. I don't know. Yeah, way shorter cut content though. Today was like what, 14 minutes? Normally the cut contents are like 5 minutes. If they're like really like long, like 25, 26 minutes. So yeah, little shorter one today. That's gonna be it for today's cut content. If you're new and you enjoyed, subscribe, leave a like down below. The full uncut version to all ReZero content will be on Patreon. As always, have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time. See you guys.